Oh,
Ready, set, go. Back in the can for round number two, so straight to it. Who the fuck are you and what do you do?
hi. How's it going? I'm Kēbē, and
Kiwi once again.
I am the owner of Surf Flight and Dean's competitor from 1998.
That was a few years back, huh?
Yeah, that was a fun day.
That was a
I
really
mean,
good day. I have vivid memories of that competition. It was a
that
lot of
that
fun.
that weekend was awesome. Omar had said, "Hey, Kēbē, so if you're not doing anything, why don't we go to nationals?" I'm like, "Nationals? What's that?" Like I was so fixated on X Games.
Sure.
Like what? Well, it's nationals, they compete on the US level. There's US nationals, which is this is funny, ironically, and very cool that there's a Saudi Arabian citizen who happens to be like the most badass established freestyle competitor in the world, and
Yep.
he's telling me about the US nationals.
Yep. We, you know what's
And then we
funny?
got, yeah, yeah.
No, please go ahead. Go ahead.
That was so there was you with Sammy? No, you were with Mary.
Yeah, with Mary.
So you had US women and Tanya. You had Sammy. Is
Yep.
Sammy Hungary?
Uh, um, he's from Bulgaria.
He's Bulgarian. I do that to Bulgaria and Hungary all the time. I don't know why that happens. I do that. Um, who else was there?
Well, it was on the same load. Funny enough, it was me and Mary, it was Craig and Tanya, it was you and Omar, and it was Arizona airspeed.
Ah,
Because I
yeah.
remember vividly, and I've told this story on the podcast before, we're two sky surf
Oh,
teams.
you know who else it was that was international? It was Swiss Stefan
Yeah,
Klaus.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But on that particular load, it was hilarious because it was two sky surf teams, one freestyler, which was you and Omar, and it was Arizona airspeed. And obviously, there's a big difference in the mentality of sky surfers, freestylers, and RW competitors. And so they're in the back of the airplane, gloves on and eyes closed, and doing their dive flow and everything. And Mary and I know we're not going to fucking win because there's no way Craig and Tanya don't destroy us. You and Omar are in a completely different category. And so we're all low key in the back of the airplane. In the front of the airplane, they're fucking hardcore and intense. And Tanya just goes out of her way to everybody's doing the high fives in the back of the airplane. They're still mentally dirt diving in the front of the airplane. And she's all, hey, airspeed, don't fuck it up. Which you see all the white gloves just come to a screeching halt in the middle of their mental dirt dives and shit. It was fucking
Yeah, there's
hilarious.
a little, in that window, there was definitely the boards and the free flyers, the vertical flyers, the freestyle being at that 1% of the population, and
Yep.
then the four-way, eight-way, speed star, formation skydiving, was the mass. We were definitely like that.
Yeah.
Had that snowboard skiing kind of ratio going on
Well,
in the
yeah, it
breakout
was
situation.
we were very counterculture at the time.
Yeah, which really wasn't so much counterculture, it was just a evolution of things. And
Sure. Yeah, but
getting to
evolutions are
get
sometimes.
get getting to chat and getting to bump into first it was walking on the scene and getting a pep talk from Damian Herdlika saying, hey man, don't let any of these guys intimidate you.
Mm,
Just do your thing. And this
mm.
big giant Javier Ortiz next to him. Yeah, man, just do your thing. It's cool.
Right. Right.
But they do what you do what you do. And get to do that and run into Omar and have a chat with him and speak about like the combination of free fly and sky surf. Got to remember this is 1998, so there's film in the sky surfer stuff, sky surfer performer here, but then there's, hey, let's make it more interactive. Let's move around and do those eagles and
Sure.
do those carves kind of thing. So what happened to me is I qualified in 96, then broken ankle. So that kind of took me out of the X Trials situation. And then I
Mm.
started coaching with Omar. Now going into that, I should back up even further. I I showed up at the a seminar to learn from Jerry. Kind of took notice to what was going on then in 1996
Mm.
in March, and by that Quincy, I started instructing with Jerry. He taught me how to instruct one person. He had to go to lunch. He came back, and I had two people learning simultaneously.
Uh,
I hope this is okay. He's like, no, it's fine. He's like, just, did you do this? Did you do that? Oh, okay. So it was getting to instruct alongside him was a great honor and a learning process that then continued to develop. And now from then until now, there's probably 200, 250 people I've introduced to sky surfing
nice.
and various forms that been relatively incident free,
Mm.
which I'm very happy with that. When I say incident free, I don't like it. I do not want my students. I try not to even use the word students. I don't want the new riders to cut away the board. I don't want that to be the, well, if it doesn't work, just cut
Right.
away the board.
Right.
That's not a great mentality. I saw that the first seminar I went to with Jerry. It was a group of people showed up from where there was probably 35 of us, but there was quite a few from South America. And there was a little bit of a mentality of go out, get the picture of yourself standing on the board, get your cameraman on the step, go out, get the shot, and chop that thing. And there's like two of them that it happened to, and then it was like that was Sebastian. So Sebastian is still to this day doesn't like people going out. You've got a populated area, you've got
Yeah.
there's a lay of the land that's got to be respected. So, when 2020 rolled around, fast forward to 2020, through all the highs and lows of the sport went through a dark night of the soul itself and a return, so to speak, that we're on a greater dawn of. Like, let me put together this manual of how to do things and just give it away.
Mm.
The one thing a few people told me, I don't know about that. That might be a little too much. Yeah, you can look at it like that and like here, learn from me, and
Sure.
I will bequeath to you upon the
Right.
power of the sword. Which
Right.
just I understand that, and I walked that walk for a while until I realized, hey, I was on this path of creating this manual in 1997, and the computers weren't at the level that they needed to be for me to do what I wanted to do. Here I am in 2020. My father was going through his situation. The world's going through their situation.
Right.
Let's advance to that next level. I've got my working parts going on where I'm now seeing, at that point in time, seeing those who the dearly departed as the dearly continuing on, which was a big thing to me. When people started, we had that dropping like flies sort of mentality that we were experiencing in 1998. And
Right.
there's quite a few flying people that have been through that evolution of challenge in your skydiving life. You lose a few friends. It happens. How do you look at it? How do you continue on? And with what I experimented with in sky surfing and spinning and finding that higher dimension, the reality of higher dimensions, and understanding that higher dimension, it has to do with frequency, and that has to do with our positive outlook, as well as awareness of what higher dimension is, and it's a little bit more closely connected to that spirit light. Now, what's that spirit light? You know, we got a lot of religions that talk about that light of God. What? Well, don't overlook the starlight thing. You know, this big bright thing in the sky is also the light of God, the light of the universe, the light of creation. You know, that's all. And there's many, 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 many stars in the sky. You find yourself in a dark situation outside, all those little lights are the light of it all that's flowing through all of us. So get into that awareness and then realizing while you're at the pyramids and see, to me, that under the just these planes of understanding light in a literal sense and understanding that creative power that we're connected with helped me see beyond death. You know, I've
I mean,
seen.
and it's also quite the challenge too when you're faced with at that time the heroes of this specific part of the sport. And not even just that, because that was also the time when I think we lost Craig Hunter around that time. You'd lost Rob Harris, you lost Vic Papadoto, Patrick Digordon, so you had these titans of the sky surfing side of the sport
Right.
that were just fading off into the distance in what felt like an incredibly short period of time. And you have to look around going, well, fuck,
Yeah.
right?
What's going on here?
Yeah. And on top of that, sky surfing was becoming incredibly nuanced and technical and very physically demanding. And,
Right.
um, a physically demanding that the other disciplines of skydiving don't necessarily put on a body. I mean, when Troy Hartman is taping his arms to, complete the Sean McCormick Invisible Man move, you're talking about a part of the sport that's gone to an edge that a lot of people can't reach.
Right. You know,
You know.
I started this story last time, real quick, go into this. I had the distinct luxury of sitting in a back seat of a car, rolling down the highway around Space Center back in 1998, sitting there with Sean McCormick. This is before he does the Invisible Man. I had taken myself out by my ankle at that point. We were both had been offered support from Skydive Space Center around the same time, and I went and pursued flying with Omar in Arizona just to see what, like, hey, let's go down this route.
Mm,
One thing, I turn this way with the camera flyer, turn that way. I'm like, I want to go into the more of the dimensional flying.
mm,
So, it was about flying here with somebody, flying
sure,
here and doing the moves on the slide,
sure.
on the angle. And so I showed up with I think I still had a cast on my ankle. Not really. I remember getting some ankle work done. Anyway, I'm in the backseat of the car talking with Sean, and he's talking to me about this doing this really fast spin, and he described it like a scene of a movie. There's a scene of a movie that's like a scary, trippy, scary movie back from the 90s called Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, with the guy in the back window that, as Sean looks at me, he's like, I want to do a move where I'm going so fast that your head looks
Yeah, that's
looks like the
awesome.
guy in Jacob's Ladder where he's like this.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah, I know exactly the
all
scene.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And before you know it, it's happening. Now, the really, really cool thing about this, and since I was talking a week ago, I was privileged enough to go to a meditation workshop with a Tibetan Bon master called Geshe Sonam. And the Bon religion or Bon belief system is very much like Buddhism, but a little bit different. They go into a little bit more of the energy flow channels in your right and left mind and center of your mind through your body, and breathing drills, right and left nostril, right and left brain, clearing exercises. And they describe the right and left mind as the red channel and the white channel. So, and this holds true with some of the stuff I learned with breathing and seeing our energy column while I'm spinning and breathing through that and sort of, if skydiving force feeds an awareness into you and forces those chakra pinwheels or energy pinwheels, dynamic energy to flow through you, when you spin like that, it's super accelerated. It's like little tornado wind of energy. And when we were doing that repeatedly, I had a lesser awareness of the chakra thing back then. But to see that now and realize, because he dressed all in red and white and he would turn into that blur,
Mm.
and going to high speeds a few times. Actually, when I got up to the 190 record last year, it was the fastest I'd ever been. It was faster than I got to in 2003. And 2003, when I first approached the Guinness World Record for the spinning upside down, I sent in 74 rotations in 20 seconds, which is a 222 RPM spin rate. Now, that was only for 20 seconds, but when you do that, and not only like I see now after I've gone further, 20 years later, when I started revisiting it, saying I want to go do that again, I realized that all of these times I was competing, I really wasn't breathing during my flying. And regardless of what discipline you are in this sport, it's very easy to hold your breath for a minute, especially when you're skydiving, because you're thinking about something else called saving your life.
Mm.
Well, we approach this sport, a lot of us do this sport, we have another psychological level going on where it does have to do with a control. You want control of something. Stress is a function of control. And like, I just want to control me and what I'm doing, my life, what's going on. So bringing that higher experience of that down to earth seems to be what's translating into our everyday lives for
Mm.
some of us. But when we encounter that death thing and don't know how to look at it, it can be very challenging.
Sure.
So, from the higher dimensional aspect, that really helped me understand that spirit side of thing. And then also why, when I'm spinning like that or going to these states of activity where I'm hearing friends who've crossed over say hello, maybe
Mm.
whether it's in the middle of the night, waking up in mid dream, kind of that lucid state, or when I'm flying, that means a great deal to me. That's kind of you're getting to fly with. It's funny how tracking jumps have turned into what are called angle jumps. I was like, it's
Yeah.
happening. We're
Yeah.
all turning into angles.
Now,
We're angles walking around on Earth.
just out of pure curiosity, with something like especially these extremely high RPM spins,
Yeah.
when you're recovering from that, I mean, you're talking about spinning at insane speeds for what most people would think are just an obscene length of time. How the hell are you getting out of that and managing to get stable and on course? Because I can't imagine spinning at that speed. And I only have the reference as a pilot, but I can't imagine spinning at the speeds that you're spinning and then having to try and fly straight and level. Like, how the fuck do you have
So,
any clue what's going on?
so I now realize that there's a what's called the cranial, depending on what text you read, the cranial occult nerve system or the cranial nerve system. The word occult means hidden.
Mm.
So the cranial occult nerve system, there's 12 nerves, I think, are listed. Nerve 10 is the vagus nerve, very important. It helps us settle down. There's a bioelectric signal that we're able to activate either by uh, kind of meditation sort of sound, that deep humming, as well as singing or breathing exercises. You can stimulate that nerve, and that stops our funny little random thoughts that we can sometimes experience on the ride to altitude where, do I have this? Do I have that? Do I have this? Did I do this? Do this? Little chitter chatter going on
Sure.
that getting in that deep breathing state activates cranial nerve 10. Now, cranial nerve 7 and 8 work with the inner ear and the facial muscles. My mind is definitely appreciating that that inner ear nerve input a little bit different. And when I'm starting to climb up to speed,
Right.
when I go out with the project of a spin series to climb up to speed, I start and spin down to out the door down to 10, check
Right.
it, stay inverted, check to see where I'm at, breathe, maybe go a little faster or a little further with it, and then stop my spin at an 8 number. But it's a slow rolling spin. It's just kind of getting in the groove. The
Right.
next one, I'll take it up a little bit faster and pull it down to 9 or 8 and walk it down.
Okay.
But as my mind is starting to appreciate that spinning awareness, that spinning state of consciousness, and then
Right.
exiting from it. For me, there's kind of like diving into a swimming pool, but you're going into that flow of water with it, just like you would try to spin and do a barrel roll when you entered the water.
Right.
This is a little bit of a combination of that, and you're slowing everything down with a breath and then exiting, arching, or cutting the board in behind you, underneath you. And yeah, there's very much a magical ta-da effect, but you walk up to that. Like if I were to go out there right now, take the orange whip there, throw the bindings on it, go down to Skydive Orange, hop out of the plane, and rip a spin down to 8,000 and exit, I would be bobbling all over the place. You'd see me out of control for a few thousand feet
Mm.
because I would go ass over tea kettle. And as soon as you go over that front edge of the board a little bit and slip, that open edge starts turning the board into a propeller. And
Yo,
then
yeah.
when you're somebody who's in a learning process, you can start to incidentally or accidentally start fighting that. And you really don't want to fight it. You kind of want to do the complete opposite. Breathe out of it, relax,
Mm.
arch. It's just I recover on that the same way as I teach people to recover on the meter class.
Mm.
It's it's arch out of everything
Right.
and
Yeah.
trail the board behind you and then front flip. So there's a break, there's that process from the spin to the recover to getting on top of the board is a process that you can go into and open that timeline up and then instruct or guide a new rider
Mm.
on how to fly with this board by breaking down. You kind of go in reverse from static flying with that in that scorpion position
Sure.
and backing it up to intentionally introducing a new rider to spinning on the board. There's something that happens there. What I do with people, or what this with this guide shows you how to do, is first learn to fly that recovery position,
Sure. Which is basically the belly to earth and feet on your ass.
scorpion position, exactly. The first level is all 100% flying with that board tucked up behind you, holding your head up, and maybe you get to do a right turn or a left turn. This is a very similar program to Skydive Chicago's AFP program,
Okay.
which that was when I did it, it was I think a 15 level program. I think it's like 18 now. Excuse my ignorance in that department. But You learn right turn, left turn in that scorpion position. Then I have you do right and left. When I say right turn and left turn, is you're checking out the steering of yourself as this different sort of vehicle.
Mm,
On your belly, dragging the board, doing a right turn, left turn, then doing a right 360, a left 360. Ideally, you're doing them like a four-way competition flyer,
sure.
flat facing Earth flyer is doing, like an airspeed
Sure.
Golden
Yeah,
Knights.
belly to earth.
Yeah, yeah, spinning mantis, like quick spin in place is how I really want you to do it. Not everyone's at that level on
Sure.
on their flying. However, learning to fly it with your upper body
Sure.
while you're dragging the board behind you, doing a right 360, a left 360, then doing a right 720, then doing a left 720, then doing a right 1080, left 1080. Now get on top of the board. So you're in a spot where the first time you get onto the board and you're standing on it, should you find yourself in a situation where you slip off the deck, there's a good chance you're going to have a little bit of an induced spin one way or the other.
Mm,
But now you've been exposed to some of that spinning orientation.
sure.
So it's a lot easier to get back in control of what's going on. You've seen it before, you've been
Yeah,
there
you're in
before.
you're in familiar territory.
You know, there were many nights while I was working alone and thinking about this manual or the process of the meter class board. And there's been a few different lines of thinking having to do with that meter class board. One was, well, why do we need to do that? It's risky. The board's behind you while you're deploying on your belly. The bag can bounce off the board. The pilot chute can go between your legs. There's all these things that could go wrong. Yes, that's true. However, that same exact thing can happen on an inline board. However, you've got zero experience you've given yourself going into a larger surface area.
Sure.
So let's back up. You know, again, this was quite a few days and nights and weeks and months of thinking about this and dissecting things. You can control the variables on a meter class deck, on the side stance deck. And when I say control, this is a board that's going to somebody in Brazil soon.
Mm.
So when you order a pizza and the board shows up, when you control the variables on something like this, it's all about controlling the angle of the deck behind you,
Sure.
your orientation of your head above the horizon, pulling at 5.5, and a positive deployment at your
Sure.
side.
Sure.
You know, you go out, throw on a board, and have the attitude of, I'm just going to go do this. I'm going to stand on it. I'm going to do a few tricks, and then I'm going to throw out. Well, that initial statement you made inside of that dive plan is really what your entire dive plan should be, is going out of the plane combined with the last bit, which is pulling safely. You just want to do that part. You don't want to do all these tricks and plan on
Right.
doing that. All you're doing is distracting yourself. And then you're going to be breathing in a little bit of a hyper state. You might start going head down. You might be rushed and watch your pull. All of those things are going to affect your process. You've got to learn to fly that box man, learn to fly that delta, learn to fly that modified frog, whatever you want to call it. You have to learn to fly it with the board now. And
Yeah.
all it is flying with a focused head up mentality, a lot like base jumping, that really pitched up scenario, which
Sure.
takes giving yourself some pressure, and you want to pull your pilot chute and to place it at your side,
Mm.
not just pull it out. And this isn't like throwing it out, playing with your friends in I know it's going to happen and there's no chance of it. Like, you want to positively place this thing and take the time, look at the horizon, get yourself up. You want to just do that
Sure.
scorpion
Well,
position on the first one and then build things up.
I mean, for me, the mentality is easy to superimpose into learning to properly throw a drogue when you're doing a tandem. You want to give an incredibly positive throw and a clean throw into good air. It's the same thing. You want to not have a lazy pitch between your feet and the board, which is the same thing as not wanting to wrap your drogue around your student's feet.
Right. Yeah, you got to keep the priorities on what's going on here.
Yeah,
Main objective number one is a safe deployment. As far as these little things you want to learn on to fly on a board, you've got to introduce them to yourself slowly and with intention and with a plan.
sure.
I kind of look at new riders until about 100 total board flights, and that's when somebody kind of turns into a sky surfer.
Mm,
They've got a little bit more awareness, a lot more awareness if you go through uh, a program that's very foundation building. On that meter class board, you introduce yourself to right turn flat spins, left flat spins, as well as standing on the board in a reliable, safe fashion that
mm.
you can also then learn right turns and left turns on top of the board, as well as barrel rolls. You kind of go through each of the orientations in 24 levels. Sorry, 17 levels.
Mm.
24 levels is the next board. 17 levels, where the 17th level is giving yourself a head down orientation.
Nice.
Don't expect a lot out of yourself in that, but it's a little bit more of how to look at the horizon upside down while you got a stick on your feet.
Sure.
Level 16 is I'm good working backwards, obviously, is a twist flip exit.
Well, but I would
um,
imagine a lot of these things are a bit like the student progression in that you're not necessarily learning the move, you're learning how to safely recover from a move.
right. Yeah, you start again, you crawl up to that. You do right 360, left 360 on your stomach, and then you front flip, learn to exit standing up, learn to see what it feels like having that pressure under your feet. And then we have you do that again on your back, which can be, it's easy to expect it to be easy on your back, but as soon as you decide to lay back, you understand real quick
Eh,
of that drag on that board pulls your feet up, and it becomes a little bit of a challenge to hold your feet down. Everybody who's flown a board that's attempted to fly a back orientation with the tail under you understands there's that airflow on the top, or well, bottom,
Bottom or the top of the board. Yeah, it's going to
on the
catch an edge.
underside of the deck when you have the board out, or if your board's up a little too much, the air catches the tops of it.
Yep.
That's where it becomes a little bit unusual for the mind to grasp what's going on aerodynamically, and we take these baby steps in
Sure.
and showing you what that feels like, because you can really quick get into a situation where your mind is thinking you should do this with your right foot or with your left foot, but it's all reversed because the airflow is going over the top side of the deck in a different mentality, and that propeller's pitch
Sure.
it's feathered completely opposite.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
and
so
having
flat fly back, stomach, flat fly back, and then have you do flips forward, flips back, and uh, twisting flips. But it becomes easier when you intentionally expose the human to a flat spinning orientation. It's there's an operating awareness in that what we were otherwise introduced to as an emergency operating scenario, a flat
Sure.
spin, is how to get out of it. Now we're intentionally exposing somebody, ourselves, to a flat spinning orientation in order to get to the point of breathing and making an intelligent decision to then
Sure.
fly out of this spinning orientation. That that right there is what builds over time and gets helps your head. Quite frankly, I think it helps you operate in more intense operating scenarios and even not react as much in conversations
Sure.
with
Sure.
people because you
Well, I
learn to
mean,
like.
again, it falls back to that put someone in a situation where they have to learn not necessarily to do something cool, but how to recover from when shit goes sideways. Because you put somebody with a board, whether it's a meter class or an inline board on their head, if they're going into the jump thinking they're going to pull off a hen house surprise, and if you don't know what a hen house surprise is, Google that shit because it's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
I started calling that the arc reactor with Sean McCormick. Have you
nice.
seen Sean's arching tail
Yeah.
grab spins? He's a grace in motion. That guy
Yeah,
with,
yeah. Oh,
especially with
absolutely.
that. He's been doing yoga the entire time.
Oh, I
I kind
know.
of fell off my game in a physical thing and had to climb back into it, and then now have learned the value of yoga, the value of chakras awareness stuff.
Oh, dude,
That
tell me about
guy,
it.
he's got
I
the yoga master thing going on, and him doing that reverse arching spin. Have you seen it where he's looking at the ground through his fingers?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It's ridiculous. I
well, spinning.
I vividly remember, and I've said it on the podcast a number of times now. I went and got my AFF rating in Skydive, Arizona, and I was jumping with oh fuck, his name's escaping me at the moment. But so really intense jumps and stuff. And I remember walking through the hangar past the packing mat where Sean was holding a yoga class, and I remember thinking, "What the fuck? I'm not gonna get up early to go do that shit." And now here I am, an old man going, fuck, I wish I had gotten up early and gone and done that shit. Because everything hurts and everything's stiff. And had I just fucking been doing what Sean was doing in the goddamn late 90s and early 2000s, I'd feel so much fucking better than I do.
Yeah, I've learned quite a bit in the importance of the stretching side of my
Oh,
exercise regime in just in helping all those nerves and muscles and all these things that would otherwise kink
oh,
and slow that energy flow down. You want to have everything moving
man, there is
first.
not a goddamn morning that I don't wake up with my shoulders both telling me you should have fucking done yoga, you asshole.
Hey, instead of doing the shut up, just go ahead and do it then.
Oh, I stretch like a motherfucker now, but I'm stretching through torn fucking rotator cuffs and
That could be your exercise program you put out there for everyone. Dean Rishi's stretch like a motherfucker.
yeah, yoga for grumpy old men.
Welcome to the Stretch Like a Motherfucker 101 program here with
Yeah,
Dino.
yeah, the grumpy old bastard yoga class.
There's
Oh
there's
man.
a, there's a learning step for everyone.
Oh,
I'm
absolutely,
I'm
absolutely.
attempting to introduce my mother to Tai Chi right now.
Oh, nice,
I feel that that's something that's extremely valuable for everybody.
nice, man. Well, so
And
so look, I want to make sure that
yeah,
we
yeah.
highlight the fact that sky surfing is absolutely coming back into skydiving in a pretty good way, which is amazing. That there is this manual out with you in surf flight that is step by step walking people into getting back into it. I want to highlight the fact that we're going to be able to get all that stuff out there, but you've got other creative stuff that I'd like to use the last 20 minutes or so that we've got to talk about the other things that you've got going on as well, which are amazing.
Yes, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah, you are seeing a few more board flyers and
Yes.
board flyers from back in the 90s as well. There's a guy, Mike Frost in the UK, who's been extremely motivational to speak with. Um, he had a little bit of a health scare, and he's like, man, I just want to sky surf. He went. Yeah, he went to Japan. He's gone and flown in Hawaii a few times now. I see him angle flying with some other people. There's Mauro in Brazil who's also doing some angle flying with people. It's nice to get a few inquiries from Brazil on this, but there's clearly a reignition. There's some people in Russia I've heard about.
Well, I think you just
People.
sent a board to my friend Olga in Dubai.
Olga has been a pleasure to work with. I'm looking forward to working with her further.
Yeah,
She's such a strong person. And there have since been a few other inquiries from females.
awesome.
This Skydive Chicago Cloud Games that we're doing here this next month, um, it's designed to be a competition that males and females compete with or fly in the event, compete with each other.
They should.
Um,
I mean, as speaking as the camera flyer for a quote unquote female skysurf team, that was a bullshit thing that they did in the first place. I don't think it ever should have been separated because if you put Tanya's fucking carousel move up against
yeah.
Troy's henhouse surprise, I defy you to tell me which one is fucking more amazing to watch. They're both fucking spectacular.
Well,
So
there's also the crazy. It's like judge performances between I don't know someone like say Lady Gaga
right.
and Prince. You know
Yeah.
what's a better performance? There's different styles. There's different
Yeah.
style of music. There's
And it's it all boils down to personal preference to that degree, but I mean it just the physicality that goes into it and the finesse that goes into sky surfing. It's not a you know, how macho and hard can I fly, it's how can I finesse this board into doing these amazing things, right?
right.
Um, so I never did think it had a damn thing to do with male female. And even when Mary and I competed in '98, um, our biggest thing was we knew Craig and Tanya were going to kill us. So we were seeing if we were getting higher scores than the male sky surf teams that we weren't competing against. And we were, you know, I
Oh yeah.
mean, so it was really fucking cool to be able to watch that going, well, shit, why is there a separation? Once again, I'd rather take fifth place in, you know, a competition with six teams than take first place by myself, you know? And so I never did understand the male female. So it's really cool to hear that you're saying you're getting inquiries and orders from women.
All we're doing in this first event is it's a little bit on the basic side, which is it accomplishes quite a bit of tasks to me. It reintroduces the sport in a basic mentality. It also gives you something very achievable. Anybody can look at that and say, I can beat that guy.
Yeah,
I can do what he's doing. Not right now. You got to practice it, but and come and get it. But there is the carrot is easier is closer to
sure,
you. The carrot, your award, your I want to go and fly and show well. It's a wide open field right now.
sure,
And you know, there's some guys that have just started doing it and it might look like they got a little jump on you, but you can do the meter class program in a week and you can do the inline program in about 75 flights, which I mean, if you got the resources, you can get there in that 100 jump window inside of 2 3 months and
sure.
then look at what you want to do past that. You know, I did before we get into the creative side of things. um I saw something on like an Instagram or Facebook comment once recently. This is in the last week. Somebody made a comment, you can do that in 3 4 jumps and be a pro.
Uh,
And I try to be cordial and aware of what I'm responding with people and understand the effects of things. But actually, that's extremely inaccurate and a little bit dangerous. There is a methodical program to learn, but you want to be thorough. The board can get away from you real quick. Well, this competition theory that we're going to be testing out is something I did in 2003 with some people All you're doing is front flip, back flip, right turn, left turn, repeating that sequence. And then the next flight, there's another sequence. I think I have them do right and left scorpion turns. And then there's 5 rounds. In the fourth and fifth round, there's a free spin, which is how many rotations you can get in 20 seconds with a hard deck being a 7,000 feet. And then for the inline class, a free wheel round, which same, you can either do vertical or flat consecutive flips, turn yourself into a wheel this way or that way. And you've got 20 seconds, hard deck at 7,000 feet. Now we're just getting out of the starting blocks with board flying again here. So it'll be interesting to see the steps along the way. But some of us have seen the potential of sky surfing, and not only the potential that the sport itself gets to, but its positive impact on drawing people into the sport of skydiving.
Sure. Well, I mean,
Which, let's face it, there is a little bit of an objective, an incidental objective to that. When I started carrying around the deck and hearing so many people say, "Hey, I got into the sport because of that," you
yeah,
understand real quick that you can be a bit of a spokesperson for the sport. You want to
of course.
why are you doing it? Like, what's your cause? What are you doing this for? Is it pure fun? Is there a cause that you've got going on that you're trying to fly the flag for?
Sure.
And be a good ambassador for the sport. You
Sure.
know,
Well, I mean, there's nobody from my generation of skydiving that doesn't remember the Flying with Geese Super Bowl commercial. I mean,
right?
that
Yeah.
that was the most epic introduction to so much of the nation. That Pepsi commercial where Troy's flying with the ducks, and it was fucking fantastic. I mean, it was.
So that right there, that flying with the flock
Yes.
was my became my objective right before I it was my time for my time out. I remember drawing what then would now become one of the first angle flying record with Guinness World Records of flying with a full plane load of people, and trying to get that wedge flying, that
Sure.
flock flying thing. Yeah, the board flying is something that we all as little ones, as children, riding skateboards or seeing ourselves flying as birds and seeing ourselves when you're on that skateboard of flying through the sky
Well, yeah.
is I want
It's
to be like the Silver Surfer, or I
exactly. I was just
seeing
gonna say
yourself
it's
flying.
it's the
That,
Silver Surfer, right?
that's something we all did as little kids, or even do driving down the highway, listen to a good song.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, there's plenty of people that do it, and there's plenty of people in their jobs out there that are looking for that next step, and the board sometimes gets their attention and gets them to go out and do a tandem
Sure.
and gets them into that student program where they learn to control themselves a little bit better, maybe speak a little bit better, pursue whatever dreams,
Yeah.
visions they have that they want to a little bit more assertively, and flying along the way. Now, thankfully, we've got these tunnels that have become this amazing resource. So that tunnel in Dubai, have you flown in it? The
Yeah.
the 10-meter
Yeah.
climb?
I've flown in Climb. I've flown in the Skydive Dubai tunnel that's out at the desert campus, and I've also flown at the private tunnel in Dubai.
Okay, so real quick, I hear the garage door. That means my mother just came in from the groceries. I'm kind of wondering, we take a pause and come back, and then we went to the climb. That I was trying to set the stage for the story, which has it's set in a 10-meter tunnel.
Well, I think we'll pause briefly and then we'll come straight back to that.
All right, cool. Yeah, I
Perfect.
just I just heard a
Perfect.
door thing. Sweet.
All right. Okay, back from the break. Let's launch straight into it, man. You've got some creative stuff going on and some storytelling that I want to hear over the last 10 minutes or so. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we were just talking about Troy flying with the flock, and that um, there being some angle flying, which is a very a very fun vision for myself speaking with Jerry Loftus quite a long time ago, as well as Sean. I think I've spoke to Kathy is another sky surfer out of Elsinore, and Tanya. The whole concept of flying alongside each other, racing on boards.
Mm,
Now, at one point in time, I started pursuing the idea of a winged board, which sounded crazy in the late 90s. And then when I went to see Jerry Loftus, he showed me a picture of him flying a board with little wings on it, and he even had little solid rocket propellant engines on him. He's like, I don't know how much acceleration it gave me, but it sure has a cool effect on camera. And there was a few, Oliver Fuhrer did something with wings, and then I flew something that I've got downstairs. It's about a 36-inch set of gull wings on it, a 30-inch. Um, a little bit more of a sled in the sky, but that concept, I really got to a point where I didn't know where to go with that.
right.
It sounded like a noble pursuit, a fun pursuit, but it also sounded like I was going to take about $100,000 and fire it out a window and hope it works out.
Right.
So how are you going to make something like that work? So further down the line, I started writing a story that incorporated that idea, along with wanting it to be about a little bit more. And we have these ways of looking at friends who have crossed over, friends and family have crossed over, and have these little stories that we talk to each other about. Oh, they're flying with each other in the sky, in the great winged one sky. So I set one of the stories on an Earth of Vega, the Earth of the Vega star system. And in the Earth of the Vega star system, they race wingboards, and they also have 3-on-3 game called Light Sphere that they play in a 10-meter wind tunnel. And that 10-meter wind tunnel, they play with this sphere, is an augmented reality system that gives them the ability to play with this sphere of light.
Mm.
I'm just thinking about the mechanics side of this as somebody who's a mechanical engineer. I don't want the ball getting caught in the fans. And so I figured, we'll go about it this way. And that led to then designing this story around the human airframe system that integrates the human with the computer simply for playing this game. And it became a little bit more like a parallel or metaphorical story that could help us all live on a light level. It's become the objective. So in this story, it opens up with a couple walking down or riding their bikes down to the One Sky Arena, going into the tunnel, and the announcers are talking about the game and introduce you to the game, while there's also another conversation taking place in one of the boxes of the arena, where it says us, Hollowing Racer, and one of the engine developers, and they're talking about a new battery system for the wingboards. Because around this this arena, there's a large track that runs along the edge of the Lake of Fire that's set next to this town that's on the Earth of Vega, and the town name I use is Savannah, so they have a parallel with our Savannah. And they race on this magnetic levitation track. So they're having a little discussion about a new battery pack system. And so the story starts off showing these two teams playing against each other, gives you a little bit of a rundown on how the game works, which when I first went down to Skydive, Arizona, the talk of space ball and the talk of sky ball was like the thing.
Sure.
That we had these little chats about, but we could never really get to the point. I mean, there's playing catch, and I was on a runway once at the end of the Eloy runway while Olaf was getting onto an aircraft with somebody with a 9-ball in his hand, a pool ball, a
Yeah.
9-ball pool ball, which none of us wants to see a 9-ball pool ball bouncing off a highway. However, it's Arizona. It's 1997,
Yeah.
1996.
Yeah.
And it's Olaf that's got this thing. So there's a level of control and confidence going on. I saw somebody walk up to him. What do you do if you don't get the ball? Because they were going out to play. All they were going to do is play catch back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
This was Olaf's dirt dive with the guy. I'm just going to throw it to you, and then you're going to grab it and throw it back to me very slowly. All we're going to do is back and forth, 10 feet apart from each other. And somebody came out, what are you going to do if you don't get the ball? And Olaf was sure to make a comment that to me was hilariously to the point of something to the effect of failure is not an option. You
Yeah.
know, if I'm going
That
out with the ball, I'm coming back with the ball. Like I'm me,
that's
man. This is what we're doing.
yeah, it sounds very 1996 Olaf for sure.
Yeah, and if anybody's watching that's not aware of this, Olaf had a one of his lower legs removed in surgery recently
Yeah, like 2 weeks
from
ago, 3 weeks
blood
ago.
clot, and he's also got some extremely creative writings. Check in on him and purchase one of his books. You'll help him out quite a bit. So in this story set on Earth of Vega, where they've got this track and this one sky arena, they play this game of light sphere. And as the scene, that first scene of that first game draws to its peak point in the game, the scene shifts to one of the other teams that's in the league, their team name is Three Little Birds. And the Three Little Birds is an all-female vertical flight team that also has a band. They're a band named the Angelinas, and their bass drum set is really cool. It kind of looks like a pair of teardrop sunglasses that glow when the drums hit. Yeah, I got pretty colorful on this. If you hunt around in our music instrument selection online, you'll find some really cool instruments out there like that. That's what I
Nice.
would give them. That's what I would give them.
Nice.
So they play like a Go-Go Sonic Super Slide song for their practice, and then they walk to the game. They're going to walk to the Platonics Metatronic Cafe. They've got a system on their planet where they're able to project the game table side in these Metatronic cafes, which on the tabletop is a Metatron's cube symbol. That Metatron's cube symbol, if you've seen it before, is 13 circles that are interconnected with a bunch of lines.
Sure.
It's kind of showing how the stars are all connected, or how we're all connected, or centers are all connected. It's a symbol of a crystalline being consciousness sort of situation, a 5-dimension symbol. The universe, welcome to the universe of light, as some people would say. So on those tabletops, there's these holographic projections where you're able to see the game in miniature form being played in front of you. And they're also able to project the wingboard races. So it's an exciting approach to showing people this universe of light and what takes place. It's kind of like when I say universe of light, think of it as Never Never Land. The Beatles spoke of it as Strawberry Fields.
Sure.
Jimi Hendrix spoke of it as Electric Ladyland.
Kind of where all free flyers want to go when they're retired and put out to pasture.
So the human airframe saving Electric Ladyland story, that's the target on their walls, the projected target on their walls in the tunnel. And they're playing with this baseball size light sphere. It gets to the last play of the game, and the ref is dropping the sphere a star as the ref is dropping the spear. I'm getting, this is a little bit of practice and how to present the story to people. I haven't talked to a lot of people
Sure.
audibly about this yet. So as the ref is dropping the light sphere on another Earth, a star-linked satellite system is placed online, and some safeties trip the system and shut the fans down, and there's a little accident that happens in the tunnel. It's a relatively harmless bumping into each other of a male and a female. However, a male hasn't struck a female on that planet in hundreds of years. It's just that's not the way. You don't do that. There's no theft. There's no hurting
Sure.
each other. There's a oneness of family situation. You have a lot more of a balanced civilization that's been through difficulties in the past. However, it becomes a big to-do when this strike happens, and
Sure.
there's some research into where did this fault come from, and how did it trip our system and trip our power off to our city. And the adventure continues both forward in time from that point as well as backwards.
Now, how when is this going to come out, and how are people going to be able to get their hands on
You'll see advertisements on your TV next year. No, I'm just the
it?
process and how to produce something like this is the great adventure. So I'm planning on, we're right now at what is it, May 22nd?
Something like that.
Yeah, May 22nd. So I'm planning on sharing the first half of the human airframe story with people as soon as a day to a week from now. There's other parts of the story that I have written all over the timeline, but this first half of the human airframe chapter, which in essence is, if you want to say on a linear format, it's story number 3
Okay.
in the process, but it's the cool, fun one that's exciting, that the Sky people realm will get a kick out of. I think
Awesome.
there'll be a little bit of interest in trying to rally the troops and, hey, how can we go one step further with this? But first, give them a story, give us all a story that's fun and means something and incorporates flying in a new light. To me, as a
Sure.
sky surfer, seeing all this happen with the sky ball and the space ball and where the evolution has gone, and now we're at 50% of the active USPA membership being vertical flyers, along with an entire indoor body flight league that's also 40,000.
Sure.
You know, I wanted to make that space ball or sky ball game come true. So how can we do it? And I wanted to make my wingboard vision come true.
Sure.
Well, there's sharing storytelling with people in a written format is a very basic way to do that. We as people who make it happen on the real level, I want to really go fly. It can be very challenging. And how am I going to go about creating this scenario?
Sure. Which, I mean, it sounds like you're well on the way and getting pretty close to being able to at least give people a taste.
Yeah, I like sharing the stories with family and friends and asking them, could you see it happening? It wasn't
Sure.
just some words that are entertaining you. I'm trying to give you as much of a, a story synopsis that you're able to see and experience as well. And, I mean, to be privileged enough to work on it and a motion picture level one day will be amazing. But the first
Sure.
steps happened in written format. I was very motivated hearing Tom Cruise say recently regarding a Mission Impossible interview. Somebody asked him, well, what's the first step you do to make something like this happen? He's like, write it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Write
Get it
down what
down,
you
man.
want to do. I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, man. So tell people once again, if they didn't hear the last one, first off, go listen to the first chat that we had. But tell people how they're going to follow you on social media and where they need to go to find out more, not only about the story, but about the sky surfing, the manual, the boards, all that stuff. How do they track you down?
Yeah, so my Instagram handle is human airframe.
Beautiful.
So just like it sounds. And on Facebook, I'm Kibi-san. But on that, on both pages, I made a link that you can get a free copy of the SkySurf manual.
Awesome.
That's free to anybody who requests it. Happy to share the information, a digital copy. And if you order a board, a short intro board, meter class board is 555, and that comes with a manual. So
Awesome.
yeah, hard copy of the manual, and then unlimited access to me on, hey, I understand this, I don't understand that. What should I do next? No problem, help you out.
Awesome.
And very soon I'll be able to also add a link that has the first half of the human airframe story. I'm
Oh,
anxious to hear
fantastic.
people's feedback.
Awesome.
It's something that I've wanted to see happening for a while. And how's it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Well, start writing out what you're seeing and what you're experiencing.
Get it
So
out there.
we're here. We're at that time.
Well, Kibi, I'll tell you what, between the cloud games, between the resurgence of sky surfing and the boards kicking out with Surflight and the creative writing stuff, honestly, man, I can't wait to see what comes next. Just
Yeah,
like,
and if you want to join us at Skydive Egypt, a jump like a pharaoh, we're doing the World Peace Movement flights again this year and trying to get to that next level. Jumping out of a C-130, you can fit a lot of people in there.
it's pretty tough to beat that. I mean, everybody now I think has seen the images. Juan Mayer shooting these amazing photographs and out there with Olav and pardon me, Omar and the entire crew and I mean, Airwax was out there and Greg and it's just spectacular. So I'm
So you asked me about Olga.
yeah,
You just went on an adventure with Olga to Island Peak.
yes,
This is a nice high point to finish this segment on.
she's a
I don't want to say in one word, but let's see. What did you think or say or experience at the peak when you got there? I saw a couple of the posts, but I'm curious
oh well,
what was your recall from that peak?
Olga's a beast. I didn't make the peak. I turned around at about 5,800 meters. She made the summit. She
Oh, so
she's
she
a
made the summit.
She made the summit. She's a beast. I got to about
She's a
5,800
strong woman,
meters and
yes.
I'm like, I got the gas to get to the top. I don't have the gas to get safely down. I'll try this again some other time.
And
She and
having a talk with
Alberto,
her, having a talk with her, she kind of came back to me with this thing of wanting to do it to go say hello to her mother.
yes, which is
That's
exactly
how
what
she
she
put
did.
it.
She took her mom's picture up there. Alberto took a photo up there as well, and then Emma made it up. So the three of them were absolute beasts. They muscled all the way through, worked their way back down, and I mean we had an amazing trip. But my personal summit was 5,800 meters, which for now I'm thrilled with. Maybe next season I'm gonna want that 62.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
man.
that 5,800 is nothing shy of awesome either.
Yeah, man. It's no joke.
What's it look like from
Uh,
up there?
it's fucking stunning, man. I mean, anything up in the Everest region in the
Yeah.
Himalayas is absolutely beautiful. Between the scenery and the people, it's a tough place on the planet to beat.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself
Yeah, man.
someday. You know,
Brother, it's
that's
again,
one of the things in the Saving Electric Ladyland story as the story progresses from Earth of Vega and then begins to incorporate the Earths of the seven sister star systems and other star systems. They collaborate to help us, Savannah Earth, face some of the challenges we have regarding AR, our AI, virtual reality, women's identity protection, and our internet content that has become a little bit challenging in the respectful manner of in the respecting women. Let's just say that. So the other star systems fly and connect to Earth through a virtual reality platform in order to save Electric Ladyland and free the chakras of planet Earth. That's the concept that we're going for here. That I've kind of got mapped out pretty well. It's just there's a lot of T's and a lot of I's, just crosses and dots going
Isn't that
on.
how it goes, man? With the creative stuff, that's always how it goes. But hey,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I can't wait to see how it all turns out. I cannot once again thank you enough for taking the time to sit back down, talk about all this stuff, and we'll check back with you again as soon as shit starts popping off.
Yes. Thank you, Dean.
All right,
Thank
brother.
you.
You take
Right
care,
on.
man.
Ciao. I'm gonna go listen to Lunatic Fringe, the song right now.
Hell yeah. See ya.
Right on.